Hello friends, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to this different place for videos, different sort of sound. We have visitors right now, so you gotta do what you gotta do. So we're in a different setup right now, but I wanted to jump in here and share this massive message with you that I think is gonna be super helpful. And it's something that actually, as with most of my conversations and the things that I get inspired to talk about, was inspired by a client conversation. So I'm going to share this over in the Mind Power Collective group. So if you're here, say hello, post a comment below. Okay. Now, let's talk about this. So I'm getting this shared over into my private Facebook group. So if you're not a member of that group, feel free to join us. It is the Mind Power Collective group. And I want to talk about this because this is something that I see happening all the time. And when I was chatting with a client recently, we had this conversation about how we automatically, a lot of us, automatically assume that we can't do that thing, whatever it is, right? That we can't do the big vision project that we want to do, or we can't quit that job, or we can't write the book, or we can't invest in ourselves. Like we automatically, it's like a knee-jerk reaction to assume that we can't do that thing that we actually want to do. And we're not even asking how we can do it. We're just assuming that we can't. We're just assuming based on our limited vision of who we are, of where we've been, of what we've accomplished, that we cannot do it. We can't do that thing. We can't invest in that project. We can't hire that person, hire that coach, get support, right? We don't even ask how it's possible. We just assume that we can't. And let's talk about why this happens. And this is directly related to our mindset and our limited thinking. There's no way of getting around it. It's just that. It's based on past experiences. I had this conversation years ago, this thought process, and this was before I ever did any of this work. I remembered I was in my 20s, and I had, my teeth weren't the straightest, and I knew I needed some work done, and, was kind of thinking about braces. And I knew that it was an expensive process. And I knew that my insurance wasn't going to cover as much as I wanted it to, but I also immediately assumed that it wasn't possible. Like for years, I didn't even go to see how much it was, or to see what I could work out, or to ask how it was possible. I just assumed, and I continued to live, the way that I was. I continued to live with limited thinking. I continued to have crooked teeth. Like, let's be real, that's what I did. Until I was able to start thinking about, well, let me just look at it. Let me just go down that path a little bit and see how it might be possible, right? How can I afford it versus I'll never be able to do that. And this is the kind of conversation that I am having constantly with clients, right? The question that I hear quite often when people approach me, or people, are in my community and we talk about coaching, and they say, I can't afford it. I can never do that. And I say, is that true? Or are you just assuming that you can't? Like, have you crunched the numbers? Have you looked at the possibilities? Have you, asked yourself how it might be possible? Or do you just take it at face value, right? And if you saw my mindset message yesterday, it was an audio that I uploaded to Facebook or to YouTube yesterday. I talked a lot about the fact that our current reality is really just old news. So if that's true, if what you are living today is a manifestation, a creation, was created based on a past mindset, then this idea that you can't afford it, or that you can't do that thing, you don't have what it takes to go back to school, you don't have what it takes to be in that kind of relationship, you can't lose the weight, you can't get healthy, you can't start the business, you can't quit the job, you can't do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, you're basing it on very limited thinking and very limited data. Like, it's not even true. It's not true. I'm going to tell you that whatever problem that you have, whatever situation that you're presenting, and you say, I can't do that thing, it's generally not true. It's not true because there are things you can do. You can write the book, you can create that vision, you can start the job, you can invest in yourself, you can do all of those things, but you have to stop assuming from the get-go that you can't. You have to stop assuming that your past is a direct indication of the only thing that you're capable of, right? So the women and, the handful of men that I work with know that they want something bigger. They know that they want something bigger, better, beyond what they've had before. And they're on this brink of, I just want to see what's possible. I just want to see what else I'm capable of. And instead of assuming that they can't have it, they're asking the question, and I want you to write this down, they're asking the question, how can I make it work? How can I have the business that I want? How can I create the relationship that I want? How can I change my financial situation, right? Not assuming that they can't, but they're asking how. And when you ask that question, you unlock so many things when it comes to your thinking, when it comes to resources, when it comes to solutions, right? It's not about I can't do it. It's how can I do it? How can I make that work? What does that look like for me, right? And so when we get into this mindset and we start talking about mindset and thinking and shifting your thinking, what we're talking about is getting into a different way of thinking about your situation. And so when I was chatting with a client recently, just last week, we were talking about a particular decision that she was, pondering. And I said, well, let's look at the best possible outcomes. Let's assume that you take this step, and instead of going to the thing that most of us go to, which is, what if this happens, and what if I fail, and what if I don't make it, and what if I waste all this time, and what if I don't have enough money, and what if, let's go to, what if it works out better than I imagined? Like, what would that look like in my life? What would that look and feel like in this experience, right? And so one of the exercises I assigned to her was, I want you to make a list of 25 ways that this situation could work out beyond your greatest imagination, bigger and better than you ever thought possible, right? And I'll tell you that 95% of the people in the world probably don't do that. That is not their automatic thought. Their automatic thought is danger, let me avoid pain, let me plan for the disaster, and then I'll hope for the best, but I'm going to plan for the worst, because that way I won't be surprised. That way I'll always be prepared. But what ends up happening is that thing ends up happening, right? The worst possible case pops up because that's what you're planning for. That's what you're assuming. That's what you're expecting. And mindset is about shifting that. So my invitation for you today is, how can you start shifting your assumptions? How can you start changing the way that you think about your life, about your experiences, about how this business could blossom and be the best thing that you've ever done, right? How could the next 5 or 6 months turn out to be bigger, better, and beyond everything that you ever imagined, right? And I want you to actually get into your imagination and imagine how it can be possible, right? And I don't mean the how. I don't mean figure out the path. I mean, what would the outcome look like? Imagine all kinds of best possible scenarios, right? Because those are potentials. Those are things that could happen for you. But you have to be in the mindset of assuming and playing in that realm. And that's really what mindset is all about. So let's break it down for just a second. What most of us do is go to the worst case. And why do we do that? Because we don't want to be ill prepared. We don't want some thing to surprise us, to jump out at us and go, hey, you screwed up. You weren't prepared for, disaster. And surprise, here it is. So now what are you going to do? Right? And in doing that, we're focused on all of the incredible things that could go wrong. The person could fire us, this job could fall through, the deposit, I can't get the money back, or I could invest in this program and it's not going to change my life. Like, we are consumed by worst case scenarios. And that is something that most of us are doing without even realizing it. You are cutting yourself off before you even begin. You're telling yourself all the reasons it'll never work out, as a form of protection. But what it's only protecting you from is success. It's protecting you from potential disappointment, but it's also keeping you a capture, right? Like you're captured. You can't move beyond where you are. Your business can't grow. Your relationship can't change. Your body can't get better. You can't get healthier because you're not willing to imagine the best possible outcome. And the thing I hear so often is, but Lamisha, I did. I believed it was possible and then it didn't work out. I thought about the best possible case and it still didn't pan out. I thought that I could do it, but it turns out I can't. And my question is, did you really? How long did you try? How long did you really get your mindset behind it? And were you kind of pretending, or were you really doing that internal work that is required to get to where you want to be? And that is what is required. You have to go in and do that inner work. You have to look at, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I imagining on a consistent basis? What am I assuming about who I am? Am I assuming that I start things and never finish them? Am I assuming that I will never get beyond this financial marker in my career? Am I assuming that I'm always going to be stuck in a job that I hate? Or am I imagining and playing in the field of possibilities, right? Where I can have more money, I can have more freedom, I can tap into this creative side, I can be in a relationship that I love. Like, are you thinking about that? Because if you're assuming that you can't, then you've already lost. You've already lost. So this is a mind game, right? And I actually call it the mind game, right? There's this game that I give often to clients, and I'm going to give this assignment to you, this exercise. This is a freebie, so take it and use it, right? This is actually an exercise that you can use for anything. But the idea is there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can, I call it the what if game. And for any scenario that you have, I want you to imagine, instead of going to the worst case scenario, what if this doesn't happen? What if this doesn't pan out? What if I fail? What if I stumble? What if, the person fires me? Whatever it is. Instead of going to the negative, I want you to imagine what if these magical things happen? Like when I'm working with someone who wants to date someone, right? And they're like, oh, I have all these terrible dates and nothing ever works out. And I said, okay, but what if you walk out your front door today, feel inclined to stop at a different coffee shop and meet the person of your dreams? What if the next date you go on is the last first date you ever have to go on because it's your person? What if you launch this next product and it, goes viral and it's the biggest and best thing since sliced bread? Like, what if these things happen? And this isn't about putting all your eggs in that expectation basket. It's not assuming that all of those things are going to happen, but it is opening and unlocking your mind to the other side of what is possible, right? No published author, no champion in any sport goes into it assuming that they are going to lose, assuming that they are not going to be successful, assuming that they are going to fail. If they assume that, they would never make it. They probably wouldn't even begin. They wouldn't write the first word. They wouldn't launch the first product. They wouldn't get on the field. They wouldn't step out into the race. They wouldn't do any of it because they assume. Because if they assume they're going to fail, what's the point? And some of you are doing that with your life. You're assuming you can't have it. You're assuming you can't be it. You're assuming that that life is not made for you, even though it's a desire of your heart. You're assuming that you don't get to have it. So instead of actually figuring out a way to do it or getting support to help you believe more, to tap into the massive gift that you have, which is your mind, to create opportunities for yourself, you're cutting your feet off and you're saying, I can't go, I can't do it. I can't be that, I can't have that, I can't do that. And so what's the point? And that's all happening up here before you even take that first step. So today is my invitation to look at your assumptions. What are the things that you want to do between now and the end of the year that you are already assuming you can't do? What are the things in your life that you want to do that you're already assuming aren't possible for you? And I want you to question, why are you assuming that those things aren't possible for you? Your past doesn't matter. What you're experiencing right now is old news. So all you have is this moment right here to shift your thinking, to think differently, to believe differently, to shift into the positive what ifs, and to start moving and fueling yourself in that space, right? So your assignment is to look at your assumptions. And then I want you to write out a list. And this is the exact assignment I gave a client last week. I want you to write out 25 ways this particular situation, whatever it is, could work out for you. So say for instance, maybe you want to hire a coach. Maybe you decide that, this is the time, this is a message for you. You reach out, we have a conversation, and you're a little bit hesitant. So you ask yourself, what are the best possible outcomes? What are the best things that I can get out of this investment? You could double, triple, quadruple your investment. That might be amazing. You could grow your business by 10 times. That would be amazing. You could change your relationship status and live happily ever after. That would be amazing. You could believe in yourself. You could be more confident. You could be more aware of what's going on. You could write that book. You could do all of these things. What are the best possible outcomes? Start thinking, start believing, start assuming those things are possible, and see how your life changes. Now, here's the deal. You can do that. You can make the list, and I encourage you to do that. But if you're not doing that and you're not thinking in that way in a consistent, in a consistent way or on a daily basis, and I don't mean 24/7, but I do mean if you're not actively practicing those thoughts, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult to maintain that level of belief, because life is still going to move, life is still going to happen. So this is where having support, having a coach, having a community, having someone that is going to be there to remind you of what is possible, to remind you of what you're capable of, right? To remind you that you can go, be, have, and do all the things that you set your heart into, like the things that you ultimately want, because the challenges are going to come. And when those challenges come up, most of us automatically shift into that old way of thinking. That time it didn't work out, and this situation becomes proof that thing is true. But proof is all around you. For any thought that you have, there's proof. So if there's proof that you can fail, there's absolutely proof that you can succeed. If there's proof that it doesn't work out, there's definitely proof that it is working out for you. I promise you that. And that is the number one thing that I'm sharing with the men and women that I work with all over the world. Okay? So my job here in this Facebook community, in the book I'm writing, in my one-on-one client work, is to help you understand the true power that you have. And it's not the physical strength, it's none of that. It really is your mind. It's how you are thinking, and how is that thinking serving you or not serving you. And you know that based on what you're experiencing, based on how you're feeling. So your assignment, my invitation to you, is to look at the assumptions in your life. What have you already assumed is not in the cards for you? What are you assuming is not possible for you? What have you decided before you even started? Or maybe you've started and you've been doing this for a year or two, and you are still assuming that it's not working out. Start looking at those assumptions, and then I want you to shift them. What else is possible, right? What is the best possible outcome that can happen for you? If you hire a coach, if you decide today's the day that you want to look into this whole coaching thing, what's the best possible outcome that you can expect from that work? And in fact, that's a question that I ask every single person before I worked with them. What is it that you can expect? What's the best, if I could give you anything, if I could help you do anything in this work together, what is the best possible outcome that you can see for your life? That tells me where they're at, right? So what is it that you want, and what's the best possible outcome that you can imagine? And don't just come up with one. I want you to come up with a whole list. Come up with a whole list and see how that feels differently for you than the list of all the terrible things that can happen. I promise it will change your life. Got it? So this is what mindset is all about, my friends. It is about shifting your thinking. It's about being aware of what you're thinking to begin with, and choosing to shift how you think, choosing to shift what you believe, so that you can create something bigger and better for yourself. That's what this is all about. So as always, if this is helpful for you, if you are intrigued, interested, and you're wondering about what this coaching thing can do for you, I want to invite you to book a free 30-minute chat with me. It's just a consultation for us to chat a little bit, to see how I can help you, see if I'm a good fit if I'm the good coach or the right fit coach for you. And then we'll kind of, talk about what working together looks like. If you're still on the fence and you're not sure, but you want some resources to kind of help you move forward, to use some of this mindset stuff, I've got a couple of free audios and things on my website that I can share with you, and I'll include the links for those below. But I really want to encourage you to start thinking and assuming that things are working out for you. One of my, what I call my umbrella beliefs, the things that I carry with me across the board, is everything is always working out for me, even and especially when it feels like it isn't. That belief has carried me through so many challenging times, and it always works out. It's always working out, even when you can't see it. So start shifting those assumptions, start questioning those thoughts that are coming up about why this won't work, and imagine all the ways that it can. And of course, if you're interested in booking a free chat with me, I will post the information for you below. We can get that booked. And I'd love to chat with you. If you guys have questions about this, or any of the videos that I tend to share, feel free to post a comment below. I'd love to kind of converse with you and see what questions are on your mind. What are the things that you're struggling with? I like to do these live videos, and in my new video series over on YouTube, I am basically talking a bit more about the specific things that are challenging you. So if you have a topic, you have a question that you'd like me to answer either on a live video or over on YouTube, feel free to post those questions below. You can shoot me a message on Facebook or send me a message on my website as well. All right. So I hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. I hope that this was helpful for you. Remember that all this information is worthless if you don't apply it. So take this as a free coaching sort of opportunity. Look at your assumptions, start shifting them, make a list of all the amazing ways that these things can work out for you. And if you're interested in booking a chat and exploring how I can help you move forward in your life and create the life that you love, then let's book that chat. Okay, I'll pop up the link below. All right, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.